Hey, how's it going, friends? Thank you for tuning in to VR Revelations. Welcome. It is January 20th, the year of our Lord 2023. It is currently 5:47 a.m. Now, before I get into these developments on the battlefield here, as you can see, Reuters here is reporting. It looks like the Russians have taken control of the nearby settlement south of Bakhmut called Klishchiivka, or Klishchiivka. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. But before we take a look here, I just want to remind you guys to give the video a like and make sure you subscribe to the channel. I've noticed that a lot of the viewers here on these videos are not subscribed, so if you want to get updates and notifications whenever I drop another video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. So anyways, we have a report here from Reuters, as you can see. This is from today. They are reporting that Russia is claiming that they've captured Klishchiivka. Now, as always, I like to take a look at the live UA map. Now, this is a pro-Ukrainian map here. This map was literally developed by Ukrainian software engineers. You can go Google it. So usually whenever the Russians claim they captured something, it takes them a couple of days, if not weeks, to actually show that on the map. But as you can see here, they've actually put the town we're going to be taking a look at here under Russian control. Of course, you can see that Bakhmut is right there at the top, right here, Bakhmut. And then we actually have Klishchiivka right on the south of Bakhmut. So let me actually zoom in here. We have Klishchiivka right here, guys. If you can see it, Bakhmut is right up here. So again, this is pro-Ukrainian. This map is pro-Ukrainian, was literally developed by Ukrainian engineers. And they already show this whole area here under Russian control. Now, it's very interesting because we know that there was a hard-fought battle in Soledar, which, as you can see, they also show under Russian control. Now, I reported on this literally like a week ago that the Russians already held control of the city. And so they finally show it under Russian control here. Now, that was a very strategic battle because, again, the Ukrainians were able to supply Bakhmut via Soledar, and Soledar itself was a sort of stronghold in this whole area. And so the Russians wanted to cut that off and take control, but not only for that reason, but it would actually allow them to then focus on Bakhmut, which is pretty much like the center of this whole area that's known for being a stronghold of the Ukrainian army, right? They are very fortified, and so now it looks like the last major fortification or city is Bakhmut here. But the reason the Russians wanted to take Soledar is so that they now have the ability to attack from the north of Bakhmut. And I'm not a military strategist, and I'm sure a lot of you watching aren't either, but you have these military strategies such as the pincer movement, right, where you sort of carve up into the enemy around a city, and then you cut them off and encircle them. That way you can prevent supplies from coming in, and throughout history you can literally starve the army in whatever city they are holding. So it's very interesting because they've taken Klishchiivka here. Now, it's going to be very, a very intense battle here to take Bakhmut. But you can see that the Russians are advancing here from the south now that they took the settlement. And it's very interesting because now as soon as I saw this, I'm thinking, oh, they can just push from the north here, right? Northwest through Pete Horne. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. They just push this way, they can then begin to encircle Bakhmut. And I think that's exactly what is going to take place. Again, this whole area was known to be like some of the best fortifications that the Ukrainians have. And, right after the fall of Soledar, I predicted that the next town was going to be Bakhmut. And again, it's not just me. Most analysts that are reporting on this honestly, talked about this and have been talking about this. But it definitely looks like they are going to try to encircle Bakhmut here. And once Bakhmut falls, that'll be like the toughest fortifications they had in that area. So pretty much it's going to be a lot easier to move forward for the Russians and then move to their final objectives of this special military operation, which will be Kramatorsk and Slavyansk up here. Now, there's a lot of speculation that the Russians are getting ready to launch a major offensive here to sort of put an end to, at the very least, Zelensky's government, right? And try to put in a new pro-Russian government or take control of Ukraine by taking control of the capital. Now, the Ukrainians have said that they fear that Belarus might join in this major offensive that is rumored here. We know that at the beginning of the war, the Russians did attempt to take control of the capital right up here. However, the Ukrainians were able to hold them and eventually push them out. But at that time, Belarus did allow Russia to attack through their country. And we know they've been holding major military drills there in Belarus. The Russians have moved a lot of reserves up here and equipment. And so if they do launch a large offensive, they'll be able to do it again through Belarus. But the suspicion of the Ukrainians is that, Belarusian soldiers might join in this major offensive. Personally, I don't think they need the Belarusian army as long as, Belarus is an ally and allows them to attack from here with a bigger Russian force. I think it could be very catastrophic for Zelensky and his government. And so with these recent losses here, we got to keep an eye out here for the situation in Bakhmut, because again, this and even Western sources, as we're going to see here from the Reuters article, are saying that this will be literally like the biggest victory that the Russians have had, because for a long time this whole area, with Soledar included, was touted as being like the strongest line of fortifications for the Ukrainians. And so the reason that a victory here will be so important for the Russians is because, again, the fortifications that follow it are a lot weaker, and so they will be able to advance through them a lot quicker. Now, you got to keep in mind that Ukraine has been pressuring, the Western powers to send them tanks, like, urgently. Of course, they're all putting pressure on each other. Germany's being pressured to allow their Leopard 2 tanks. I believe the U.S. and Britain and these other countries are going to be sending some equipment, but it's not enough. They're only sending like a dozen tanks, and the Ukrainians are literally asking for like over 300 immediately. And the Western powers are hesitating because, again, they don't know what to do or how far this will escalate or how quickly it will escalate. But that is where that's the mistake they're making, because the longer they take, the quicker the Russians are advancing. And really, they should have, if they were going to send those tanks, they should have sent them a long time ago. I don't know why they would send them after literally the strongest fortifications in this area for Ukraine have collapsed. It wouldn't make sense to send them once the Ukrainians have to retreat here to Kramatorsk and Slavyansk. But again, it's going to be very interesting here, because I am expecting the fall of Bakhmut here in the next couple of weeks. And pretty much we're coming close to the finalization of the objectives for the Russians in this special military operation. But again, that's not going to be the end of it, because Zelensky and his government have already stated that they're not going to negotiate with the Russians until they take back all of this, which is now legally part of Russia. So, what the Russians are going to have to do is take out Zelensky. Now, either the people are going to turn on Zelensky after these military failures, or the West is going to put pressure on him to come to the table and come to a peace agreement with Russia, which is very unlikely because they keep sending weapons, not the amount that the Ukrainians need, but just enough to sort of keep the Ukrainians fighting. So that's very unlikely. Or what I think is more probable is that we are going to see a major offensive here pretty soon, aimed at the capital in order to try to pretty much aim at the head, right, and take out the leadership and so gain control. There's other rumors that this large offensive could be aimed further west down here in order to sort of cut off, the capital here and this whole area from Western supplies down here. That would be a major move, and it could risk a major escalation here with Poland and over here, because if they do launch an attack down here in order to sort of cut off this whole area, that would sort of alarm all these other bordering countries down here. So I think what's more likely is that they will launch another attack on the capital like they did at the beginning of the war, except this time it's going to be a lot different because I would say the Russians are in a stronger position and the Ukrainians are in a weaker position. Also, these Western nations are refusing to send their best weapons. What they are sending now isn't going to be enough. It might slow down the offensive of the Russians because they are weapons. They will make a small difference, but it's not enough for the Ukrainians to muster up an offensive. And so I think the next 1 or 2 months are going to be critical, and I think the Russians are going to launch a large offensive here pretty soon. But anyways, that's a look at the map there. Let's actually go ahead and read the article here from Reuters. So we see here, Russia's defense ministry said on Friday that its forces had taken control of Klishchiivka, a settlement south of Bakhmut in eastern Ukraine's Donetsk region, as we saw there. Last week, Russian forces captured Soledar. They're finally admitting it. To the northeast of Bakhmut, an advance that defense analysts said could help them put pressure on the larger town of Bakhmut. Yes, that's exactly why they were aiming for Soledar. Klishchiivka, which had a pre-war population of around 400 people, was captured with the help of aerial support, the ministry said. So they're trying to insinuate that it wasn't a big town and, they needed aerial support for that. Again, you'll see this sort of downplaying, pretty much from all Western media news sources. The village is around 6 miles, 9 kilometers south of Bakhmut, where units of Russia's Wagner private militia have been locked for months in a battle of attrition with Ukrainian forces. Both Wagner and Russian proxy militia based in Ukraine's Donetsk province had already claimed to have taken Klishchiivka. Reuters could not independently confirm battlefield events. So there you have it, guys. It's going to be very interesting to see if they try and encircle Bakhmut here, like I stated, which I believe they will try and do. As you can see here, the live UA map is already pretty much showing more than half a circle around Bakhmut here. Again, they can encircle it and then launch artillery strikes. Something we saw here, in Soledar. If you're able to take a city with that strategy, why wouldn't you replicate that in the next one if it's working? And so I think that's exactly what is going to take place. Anyways, leave me your thoughts and opinions down below, guys. And again, make sure you give the video a like and make sure you subscribe. Anyways, thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful day and God bless.